Hey everyone, this is Amber Key, and you're listening to a Bright Idea podcast, a show where I sit down with entrepreneurs to discuss the aha moments that launched their businesses. On this week's episode, I sit down with Issac, Alicea, and Joshua Hughes, founders of Artivism, a creative production company and cultural movement based in Washington, D.C. What started as a shared vision at Howard University has grown into a community-driven space where artists can create, collaborate, and build real infrastructure around their ideas. The two founders met as freshmen at Howard University in the midst of a global pandemic. Both drawn to their mental health, education, and making a difference in their communities, the two became fast friends. Issac is an entrepreneur, musician, educator, and creative strategist whose work lives at the intersection of creativity, business, technology, and community. Joshua is an artist, educator, organizer, and curator whose ability to connect people across generations has helped shape Artivism's heartbeat. Together, they've built more than just a business. They've built a hub for creative empowerment. In this conversation, they share the origin story of Artivism, the role Howard played in shaping their mindset, and why owning the means of production matters for independent artists. We also talk about entrepreneurship, sacrifice, community, and what it really takes to turn creative vision into something sustainable. Before we dive in, if you like what we're doing here at A Bright Idea, help us keep going. You can subscribe to this show to get notifications when new episodes drop. If you like what you hear, share this episode with someone who needs a little inspiration. And if you would like to support the show directly, you can donate to our Cash App at A Bright Idea Podcast. Lastly, if you're a business owner or a brand looking to connect with our growing audience, we'd love to collaborate with you. You can sponsor an ad within one of our episodes or sponsor an entire episode. Just reach out to us to learn more. Now let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Issac and Joshua. We're here with Josh and Issac from Artivism here in Washington, D.C. Guys, how are you doing today?
Hello, doing good. How are you?
Good.
Very well, blessed and balanced.
Good. Blessed and balanced. that's a new one. I like that. I'm so excited to talk to both of you today because actually I found out about you because my producer was walking down the street and she heard y'all playing music like from in here, but she heard it on the street. So she came in and she was like, what's going on? And then that's how she found out about you. And she called me and she's like, you need to do a story on these guys from Howard that opened up this like space for independent artists. And she just kind of started going down the whole path. And I was like, wait, who? And then when I found out where y'all were, I was like, I pass this place like every day. So
Nice.
I'm really excited to talk to you.
We're very excited to talk to you as well. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
And yeah, very excited.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it. Well, so like I said, I found out about you through a friend, a producer of my show. And for someone who doesn't know anything about Artivism, if they are walking down the street right now and they come in here and they're like, what is this place? Like, what do y'all say?
So Artivism is a creative production company. So we're a company that is designed to turn your creative ideas into reality, something that you can physically hold, something that you can physically share with people. So let's say, for example, you are an artist. Let's say you make music. We provide 3 services that will help you not only just have that an idea, but make it real and then be able to, profit from that idea that you have. So we have a recording studio. That's one of our services where we do not only like music, but we also record podcasts, audiobooks to create the product. And then once you have that art that you have, now it's, okay, what do I do with that art?
Okay.
You could post it on Spotify, you could upload your music, but the way that the industry is designed today, you're not making any money off of those streams. Unless you have 1 million streams, you might make $1,000, which is not enough to pay 1 month's rent in DC. So
Yeah.
there needs to be complementary products to support the creatives that live among us every day. And so another of the things that we do is we produce merchandise as well. So we make like hats, hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, stickers, buttons, and that allows us to help local businesses, creative artists, organizations with products to give with their team, to sell, or just to connect with a larger audience because you have something that you can now make money from that is connected to the art that you made.
Yeah.
And then even to add on to that, we produce all of the physical goods. We have the space for the events where people can just come together and share. But even more than a company, Artivism is a movement, right? social activism through creative expression. So not only having the means to make all of those amazing forms of art, but doing it with an intention and with the notion that the art that we create and that we consume, it's like food. Like if you put junk food in, you're gonna get junk out. And we really have the power with our creativity to create the world that we want to see. Like this was a white room before all of this art and all of the movement, so Artivism is a movement, and that's how we continue to carry the motion.
Coming up, we hear how Artivism went from an idea to a full creative movement, and why ownership, culture, and sustainability matter so much to artists. Stay tuned. I love that you are describing it as a movement, and then I also love that you are sort of explaining how you're building an ecosystem for creatives, not just for them to thrive as artists, but really grow as a business. I don't think that's something that we have talked about until very recently, about how creatives can actually become businesses and really grow in that space. Everyone tells an artist to go chase their dreams, but no one really tells them how they should pay their bills. So when you guys thought about this space, what was sort of the problem that you were trying to solve?
So the problem was that we were artists and we were making art and we were broke. We were broke college students, and what we found is that even with all of the great intention, even with all of the great connections and experiences that we were making through our art, it wasn't enough to put food on our table. And that we saw could be applied to a larger scale. If I'm an artist, I know there's millions of artists in this nation alone. Everyone has a creative being within them somewhere. But a lot of times that creative energy is stifled because, I have to go to work first so I can pay these bills. And then by the time you get home, you're tired. You don't want to, create. And then we end up missing out on a lot of those great projects that should be shared and should be in the ether, but they never make it to that point because we're all stuck into this this rat wheel, this matrix. A cycle almost, And so in order to break out of that cycle, we just we want to make it more sustainable to be a creative, to be someone who is making a positive impact in their community, in the world, with the art that they make.
And then even with that as well, whoever has the control of the means of production is, in for all intents and purposes, is the winner. And so you see major labels right now pushing out, can we curse on this?
Yeah.
Pushing out straight bullshit. It's art that is empty, art that is literally, in some cases, it's literally degrading ourselves. It's degrading the men and women who are in our communities, calling women B words and saying that life is just about money and drugs and all this stuff. And the people who are in charge of who makes it famous are the same people who want to keep pushing those negative agendas. So
let's talk about that for a minute. Do you think that even though it's kind of detrimental to be creating that kind of music and that art, because it then trickles down into our culture, right? Yeah. But isn't that what sells at the same time? These people are making so much money off of.
No, it's not what sells. It's what's being marketed. It's what's being pushed by the algorithms and by the radios, and then because it's familiar, then that's what sells. But even if you look at music history, back in Motown, and back when those creative artists all had this kind of camaraderie, and they had their own masters, and they owned their own stuff. All the music was about coming together and loving one another, and there's a reason why Bob Marley and the greatest artists of all time, their messaging wasn't about violence and drugs and abuse. It was about loving each other, and they owned their own projects. So they were able to speak on what they wanted, and they didn't have to fit into this like Josh was saying, this agenda in order to be pushed onto the mainstream media that we consume today.
And so what's changed is the way that things have been marketed now, and the power that other people are having over the artists and what they create.
100%, because even before we look at what today's art landscape looks like, art has been an aspect of human history from the very beginning. Art has been consistently a part of every movement, of every revolution, of every idea that has ever existed. There's an artistic energy within that. And so that just goes to show how powerful of an influence art can have on the human identity and on the human mind.
Yeah.
And, that's nothing new. So when you are able to control the art, you're able to just control how people see themselves within this world and the world around them, which is why we're using Artivism to create a new just way to see yourself. However you want to see yourself, you can, but you just create it.
Yeah.
Don't let mainstream media create it. Don't let these big artists create it for you, because then that's going to leave you in a place where you don't belong. That's going to have you seeing yourself as someone that you're not. And so it's important that we all create ourselves so that we can discover our own authentic identity.
I love that. And I was doing a little bit of research beforehand just on the creator community. And I like to put artists and just independent people in that category as well, like the creator economy. But I'll just read it real quick. So it said, the creator economy is estimated to be worth more than $250 billion globally and continues to grow rapidly. And then it said small businesses account for 99.9% of US businesses, yet creative entrepreneurs struggle with marketing, pricing, and business education. So I think, to your point, this movement that's always been in existence, but now what's changing is that you have these big conglomerates who are kind of controlling what is putting out, the business decisions, the marketing. Sometimes as an artist, you're creative, but you don't understand that business side, which it seems like what you guys are trying to do to change that.
Yeah, so Artivism exists as the machine to help support local independent artists.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I agree.
No.
Basically, like, there you can see it as different pathways that you could follow as a creative. You could try to get signed by a major label and follow that pathway where you go down the industry lane, or you can be independent. And a lot of times when you're independent, you don't have those resources. You don't have that whole marketing team, that whole distribution team that the label is able to give you to support. So now when you're creative, you have to wear every hat that the label would give you. You have to be your own manager. You have to be your own booking agent. You have to be your own graphic designer for all of your merch and all of your album art. You have to be your own advocate. And then it just becomes very difficult to just make the art, because you have to do all these other things that take a lot of energy and time as well. And so we exist as kind of that one-stop shop for creatives to come and say, hey, I have this idea. I would like to record it. I would like to, get it produced, get it distributed, have a showcase, have a space where I can even think about this idea some more, be inspired, meet other people. You could come in here, you want to do a photo shoot, but you don't have a camera. Chances are you can meet someone in here who has a camera and wants to do a photo shoot too, but they don't have that creative idea that you have. So it becomes a place of networking as well. And it's just a lot more organic than, okay, I have to formulate my art to fit into this industry's model so that they can push me.
Coming up next, we go inside the personal story behind Artivism, from Howard in the pandemic to the early partnership that shaped their vision and their mission. Stay tuned. I think the business model, what we were talking about before when you guys and I spoke before this interview, was speaking upon your own experiences. So Josh, I thought about you because you are an artist. You both graduated from Howard. You have a degree in mathematics and education, is it?
Yes.
A minor in education, but you're also a rising artist here in DC. And then you have played instruments since you were a kid.
Yep.
Did you find that these were your frustrations as creatives, like what you are looking to build today? Like, talk about your experience as artists.
1000%. And I would even frame it not even as frustrations. It's more so like using what we have to create what we didn't, and to create what we needed, right? I've been, by the grace of God, I've been blessed enough to be able to create art since I was in high school, making music, performing at Sweet 16s and stuff like that. And so when I came to this campus, and Isaac and I, the way that we met was a little bit non-traditional because we were seniors during the COVID pandemic. Mm-hmm. So our entire freshman year of college was online. And over that time, we actually met through like a Zoom call, and we knew how creative we both were. And we also knew that, just like Isaac said, in terms of building an ecosystem, mm-hmm. he had things that I knew I needed. I had things that he knew he needed. And it just created that symbiotic relationship to where it's mutually beneficial, and also we're able to cover each other's deficits, able to help each other where we can, but also cover each other where we might not be as strong.
Yeah.
And then just naturally, like, that combination became the lifestyle that became Artivism. It's not really something that, like, yes, it's a problem that we are working to solve every day, but it's also like, this is what we do just because of who we are. Like, this is what we want to do. And even in the dorm rooms, like, when we did get to campus, our sophomore year was the first time we actually did get to campus, and we were roommates at Howard. We were doing this before we even had the idea to make it a business. We were helping people that we met with their creative ideas and using, our own just talents to work on our own as well. So it was a very just organic evolution of, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
These are the things that I recognize that we don't have as artists, and then recognizing that we're not the only ones that are experiencing those problems. And then so we realized that if we do form it into a business, we're going to be able to help a lot of people just by creating that resource place, or just that like a hub. Yeah, that creative incubator. Which is what you see today.
I love that. I want to talk about Howard for a second, because where we are sitting today is only blocks away from Howard, where both of you met. And you'd mentioned that the way that you met was a little unconventional. It was on Zoom. It was in the pandemic. But all in all, you all met at Howard. And so Howard is known for producing CEOs, politicians, entertainers, entrepreneurs, inventors, you name it. What was the mindset that Howard gave you?
Yeah, for sure. So they have this mindset called Howard hustle culture, and we knew about it even before we came to campus. It's basically everybody on that campus has at least 2 side hustles, and is making it shake in some way or form or fashion. Yeah. And there are so many different avenues in which you can do that there. Like you said, they produce the most Black doctors, the most actors, the most, even in the art theology department, we're the top. And so with that, you meet a lot of people, and that's probably one of the things that I'm most grateful for from going to Howard, is all of the amazing people that I met, all of the people who have inspired me to do more, or people who literally were right there with me, helping me do more and exceed my previous thoughts or limitations. And I think that hustle culture and that mindset really teaches us that we have everything that we need. I've been saying a lot recently, just to myself, that when you relinquish possession of things, you realize how much you really have. You realize you have everything. And it's more so just about being, and really just being who you are, and allowing God and nature to, take who you are and be who you were always going to be.
That was a word, Josh. Dang.
Right.
You've got everything you need. Yeah. Wait, that's crazy. Oh, so, wow, that gave me goosebumps. Hold on, let me okay. Have you always had that mindset, both of you, or was there anyone or an experience at Howard that you think challenged you to think differently?
At Howard, I actually faced a lot of rejection. It's very competitive, and there's a lot of people who are competing for the same things. There's a lot of, I'm a first generation college graduate in my family. So my parents, went to college, didn't really work out for them, but there's people who are like triple, quadruple legacies at Howard.
Yeah.
They knew they were going to Howard when they were born. They knew they were gonna do this organization and do this whole, like their whole life was like kind of like streamlined for them. And, you know, I didn't necessarily have that luxury, but also I had the luxury of waking up and choosing whatever I wanted to do that day. It was days where I would just wake up and go to the skate park all day and just chill with the DC community. You know, there was days where, you know, I would not necessarily know how I would eat the next day. So we had to go and book a studio session, or I had to go and cut somebody's hair to make sure that we were good. So I think, you know, having that rejection and also being like having a strong basis in my faith. Like I was introduced to art through God, through singing in the church choir, playing piano in church. And then my parents, you know, God-fearing people, they instilled that in me as well. So, you know, I think it's a mindset that we have had and we are continuing to cultivate and continue to refine.
Take me to the time or like that conversation where you guys like sat down and you were like, all right, we're going to open Artivism.
So it's, again, it was more so like from the moment we met. Like Josh said, we met online our freshman year. We actually met on a men's mental health call, just talking about like, how is your mental health during this global pandemic? And spoiler alert, our mental health wasn't that great. You know, like, so we were in this like this Zoom call, and we got put in the same breakout room. And here this dude was like, we were doing like just introductions and stuff. And I remember it was so weird because like he introduced himself, and he kind of like said everything that I was like gonna say to introduce himself. I was like, dang, like what am I supposed to say now? He was like, hey y'all, I'm Josh. I make music, I make art, I like football, da-da-da. And I'm like, well, that's everything I like to do. And so we got connected from that call, and just like...
I shot my shot. I shot my friendship shot.
Period.
I won't even lie.
Yeah.
So we got connected on like social media, started like sending each other memes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then eventually became roommates. But even like, as soon as even before we got on campus, we were teaching kids over the summer leading up to that fall of getting on campus, teaching them data analytics over Zoom. And then we got to campus, started getting involved with the music and the creative community at Howard, started hosting shows, started doing like fashion design and stuff. And then that's where like Artivism started, literally. It's like just the production of it all. Josh grew up and his dad has been doing merchandise production for like 10 plus years, more than that. So it started way back when, you know, and it's just been like a natural, just leading up a sequence of events that has literally just brought us to right now. But I would guess the moment that we really like said, okay, this is what we're gonna do is when we were juniors at Howard, Josh ran for Mr. Howard. And so his whole campaign...
So the people who don't know what Mr. Howard is, what is that?
So basically, they have elected officials at, you know, most HBCUs, and it's kind of like a pageant where you'll run for either like the, you know, Mr. of whatever specific college you're in.
Yeah.
Or they have like Mr. Freshman and like the different classifications. Mr. Howard is like the biggest pageant, the biggest, you know, it's basically ambassador, a global ambassador for the school. And if I were selected, I would have been, you know, going to different conferences, touring to other HBCUs, connecting with their kings and queens, and really just being an ambassador, a liaison for Howard, showing people what the typical Howard men and women look like.
Okay.
Right.
I ended up getting second place, which was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. But Issac was my campaign manager. And I had a very grassroots campaign. It was literally just us two with a speaker and a microphone and some snacks and some art.
Yeah.
And I said, hey guys, come talk to us. Come learn more about My platform was come one, come all community. But during that campaign season was literally when we spray painted that Artivism sign together in the backyard. And you know, it was funny how it even came about, because we were just kind of doing random stuff in the background and just expressing ourselves. And I told Isaac, I said, I want to do one word that just like encaptures like everything that we do.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just gonna write art at first, just art. But I think the vism part is something that we really do not take for granted, and that I really appreciate about my brothers, because, you know, if you put vism behind something, that requires action. It's the action of doing something. So, you know, it's not just about, oh, I can paint, I can do this. What action steps am I taking every day to make sure that this art is received by the community, appreciated, and then inspires someone else to create something else?
So it was through this campaign that Artivism was born.
So it was through this campaign, and then at the same time too, I was in my junior entrepreneurship classes, and my curriculum required me to write out a business plan of whatever I wanted.
Oh, wow.
And I knew I had an idea of I wanted to do like creative production as a business, but for the longest time, I just couldn't decide like what I wanted to name it. Like, you know, I was shopping it with local businesses around the area, because I thought it would be a good idea to like install a recording studio in like a creative cafe. So I was like thinking like, okay, maybe we can call it like Sankofa Studios and do it at Sankofa Cafe across the street from Howard, or like, and I was literally like shopping around, and then it came to a point where we were just sitting down and just playing the game, just talking about life, and we decided like, no, like this is something that we can do, and then we were just like talking about trying to figure out a name. Nothing was clicking. It was all like corny, just like really bad ideas. And then we looked behind us, and the sign was sitting on top of our couch, because we were bringing it out to do like the tabling and stuff. And we were like, that's it. And so that was like the moment it really solidified itself for sure. And then from there, it's just been, you know, everything that led up to now.
So I love that backstory. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so that was like a few years ago. Now we're in present day. You guys opened this space in February.
Yeah.
But what were you doing in the meantime in terms of money? Because like when I think about you guys just graduate, you didn't just graduate Howard, but you guys are recent grads to everyone else. DC is such a high rent area, and like brick and mortars, like that's why everyone does pop-up shops, or they do like online things. Like talk to me like through this process of how you even like got this place, and like what jobs you had to do to like sustain it.
We always say minimum wage to the maximum effort.
And God.
Literally, yeah, well, of course God too. Literally working like 3-4 jobs at a time, but always having the clear goal in mind, and not just taking a job just to have a job, but taking a job to get the experience, taking a job to make those connections. So for example, like we were working at this mom and pop shop. It was like a DC bodega style store in DC. It was called Aurora Market, and it was it had like a cafe section where we were working like as baristas and making drinks and stuff. But it also had a basement that we could use as like an event space. So we were working in this space, formed a great relationship with the owners of that business, to where, you know, we could clock in, we could get paid minimum wage, but that opened the door for us to do free events 3 out of the, 5 days of the week. So now we're able to build that momentum for our business, where people are beginning to recognize us as a brand, and to be really like, just aware of what we're doing. If you apply that one example to 4 other businesses, 4 other minimum wage jobs, that gives you like those opportunities. Now is when you start to be able to take bigger risks. And so that's what we did, is we knew exactly where we wanted to go, and we knew exactly where we were at the time. And so we just built the bridge to get there.
Now, I know everybody has to like work several jobs in order to get to their dream, but no one talks about like the struggle that happens behind the scenes. Like, are there any sacrifices that you guys had to go through that people don't see or didn't see?
Not to get philosophical here, but I think
Please do.
I think that anything great that comes in your life comes with sacrifice. You know, you're never gonna be gifted $1 million unless somebody wants something on the back end. You know what I mean? And I think that the work that Isaac and I did put in, at least for myself, it was easy for it to not even necessarily feel like work because I had a brother, somebody who I loved, who we literally have had the exact same schedule, like damn near the exact same schedule for the last 5-6 years.
You've had the same life.
Yeah. So, you know, it's so much easier to wake up and, you know, go teach kids or go and serve coffee or host an event if you have your best friend right there with you, somebody who you know has your back, somebody who knows your, like we communicate telepathically. We don't even have to really talk much anymore. And so that makes it not, you know, that makes it not feel as bad. And so, like, you know, the sacrifices that we have to do great things in our lives. You know, I just think about my parents and the sacrifices that they had, and, you know, the things that I go through are, you know, they fail in comparison to that, and then think about the sacrifices of their parents. So I think that, like, sacrifice is a good thing, and it comes with the great things.
Yeah. Are there ever any moments, or have there been moments that you guys were like, all right, let's just get jobs and not fulfill this dream? I love that. Not a single time.
No.
That's amazing. That's not, a lot of people can't say that. That's cool. What do your families think? Because I know you said that you're first generation college, which is a great, like, that's such a great accomplishment in itself. And then you come from did you say you come from a close family? Did I make that up?
I come from a close family.
Okay, great. We're going to say that. You come from a close family. What are the families saying? Are they proud of y'all?
Yes.
So beyond proud.
Yes.
And at this point, we have the same family because we've been so close together. And our families have invested so much into us. They, like I said, their sacrifices, their love, the love that our families give not only to us individually, but to just each other and the ideas that we have, you know. And they've seen it. They called us crazy at first, you know, thinking about the sustainability of it all. But having them come back to the city and, you know, the city that they dropped us off to go to college and we haven't left, and, you know, they can come and see physical fruits of our labor. I think they're just very, very proud. My dad actually comes probably like twice a month, and he'll just chill with us for the entire week if he could, you know, help us out with events, because he has experience managing artists, making merchandise, doing things like that. So they'll share a lot of their resources, share a lot of their expertise, and all of their love.
Yeah, they're very proud of us, and even like Josh was saying too, the investment that they've made into us from very young ages. You know, we wouldn't be artists without our parents. Mm-hmm. You know, I wouldn't like be an instrumentalist if my parents didn't. We had a rule in my house where we had to play an instrument until we graduated high school, and I hated playing the cello. Like, I hated playing music, but it was like a rule that we had in our house, and now it's like I'm so grateful for it because it gave me the foundation that I have, that I do everything with. Even like growing up too, like my parents would take like our whole family to like soup kitchens, or like we would do like a lot of like just charity or like community service, so that we could see like what we did have and like be grateful for what we had, and also just give us the lenses in the perspective on like what it means to help people that are in need. And so I think even like a lot of those things, a lot of those concepts that they've instilled from a very early age are present in what we do every day.
I can see that in talking to both of you, like your upbringings, like you coming from a family that you said that you had to play an instrument until you graduated from high school, like the type of discipline that takes, like in the moment, I'm sure you hated it, but like it builds on itself for those times when it is hard and you're running a business and you don't know what 5 years looks like from now, but you have this like discipline instilled in you that you're just going to keep going. And then for you, like, I mean, you said so many things, but the faith base that you come from with your family and just having that conviction, but also that drive and just the faith of a mustard seed, honestly, like that it really does go a long way. I was thinking about a conversation that we had before this interview, and one thing that you, Isaac, said that I wrote down was, it really stood out to me. You said artists should own their means of production. Can you go in and explain a little bit of what you meant by that? Because I thought that was pretty profound.
So basically, when you bring something to life, that is something that you have brought into the world. There's not a single idea that you could have that would be the same idea that either one of us could have to the degree that it would be yours. We might think, oh, let's do an event. And you might think, oh, I want to do a sip and paint. I might think, I want to do a sip and paint. But if we were to do it, it'd be differently because we're different people. And so it's important that everyone creates something because there's no one in the world that can create what you can. And so if you're not creating, then the world is missing out on what you could have brought to life. And so it's very discouraging, it's very disheartening when artists don't own their own means of production, because then once that idea is created, then it's like someone else can benefit from it when you're the one that created it in the first place, and so it's like that creative is not being supported through the art that they make, and then they probably won't turn around and continue to create art if it's not benefiting them in the way that it's benefiting someone else or benefiting them in the way that it should.
Yeah.
If you want to add anything to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. I think even just as an artist myself, and talking about having your means of production, if you have to rely on the powers that be, the systems, to help you bring your ideas into fruition, it's like every person that helps you with your idea, they change your idea in some way, right? Even like in going to school and going to Howard, I had one idea of what I wanted to do, and all my professors and all my teachers, oh, it's not going to work that way. Oh, you got to do it this way. You have to kind of change your flow to adapt to what everybody else is already comfortable with, right? And being able to have the means of your production is so liberating. Like more recently, I've been getting into like beat production as well. And recently I have written, recorded, produced. I'm working on editing like my own song. Like literally nobody else touched the track except for me. And I think that that's very reflective in the song. As well as it just makes it feel better for me to listen to. That's like my favorite song right now, because it's not like, somebody's random beat that I just bought, or it wasn't recorded by somebody who has this certain type of ear, whereas I wanted certain things to sound like this.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting perspective, and it's something that we see a lot now too, where people are branching off and having their own labels and being independent artists. Where do you think the line should be drawn with, like, we're all doing our own things and should have ownership, but like we can all still have community where we can seek advice or seek other like expertise and influence in a way? Because I worry about all of us just like kind of being siloed, doing our own thing and not like having any other input. Is that making any sense?
Yeah.
And do you guys think about that in this space, like how an artist can have ownership but still have a community that is influencing some of their work?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I always try to communicate the mindset that, we're always constantly students and teachers. I'm literally a teacher. Like I just got back from teaching the kids, and I learn from the kids just as much as, I'm doing curriculums and doing lesson plans. So communicating that we are in this shared space, whether it be this room, DC, the earth, we're in this shared space to learn from each other's experiences, whether that be lived or shared experiences.
Most definitely. I would even say too, this space specifically is designed to inspire and not to influence. Our goal is to show people that they are they belong here, not their version of themselves that they think that they need to be to fit here. No, they belong here. And so it's like we want to inspire you to reflect on your own experiences and to form new experiences here, but we're not trying to influence you to be someone that you're not. So I definitely think there is a space for community, and that space is for creating new experiences, for creating new threads, for creating new art. But it shouldn't be a way where it's like, okay, I have to make my art a certain type of way for a certain type of person. Then it's not your art anymore. So, I think all those things, it can be a little, it can be all confusing sometimes, but we try to make it as clear as possible is that we want you to be yourself here. And from that is like, that's where the art comes from.
We wrap this with the biggest lessons they've learned about entrepreneurship, friendship, and what's next for Artivism. Coming up next. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about just entrepreneurship lessons and what you guys have learned from this venture. But what would you say has been like your biggest business mistake?
For me, I'm a very passionate, imaginative idealist, and I think I don't think that's a mistake, but I think the mistake can come with arrogance and not confidence. I think in the past, especially when I was, at the point where I wasn't reaching the point that I wanted to with my art, and I'm looking at, everybody else, like, why are they not picking me? Why can't I perform there? Why can't I do this? And that is, a bit arrogant and a bit selfish in terms of my art. And like, I wasn't even giving my ideas the full, everything that they deserved. So it's like, how could I expect whatever I think I deserve when I'm not even giving myself what I know I deserve? And I think that can be very true for entrepreneurship as well. It's very easy to say, oh, we're going to do this and that, and we're going to get $1 million. And you don't account for the things that you don't know and the things that you didn't know that you needed. So I think now as a business owner, I've been coming from a place of humility, coming from a place of, I'm no better than an artist who just picked up a guitar for the first time, or somebody who doesn't even think they can sing, but really can do their thing, you know what I mean? And I try to carry that in entrepreneurship as well, and not be so overzealous about my idea and the end goal, but really see the whole map and like see the steps that I have to take in order to get to that end goal.
That's interesting that you say that. I think on my end too, I would say the biggest business mistake even that we have encountered is just like trying to help everyone all at the same time, with understanding that we're still a new business ourselves, and we don't have every resource that we want quite yet, and we're still working towards those things. And so when we have people that come to us with ideas that they're looking to do, let's say like, for example, few weeks ago we double booked like 2 events at the same time, because we thought, oh, we could go do this and come back and do that and make it happen. It's going to be smooth. And then we ended up like being late to set up on one of the events because the first event ran too long. And it's just like being more realistic about how we can help people so that we don't oversell and underdeliver. We want to just be ourselves and deliver on what we said we're going to do. So just being more realistic on just how many hours are in a day and how we're able to stretch ourselves to help without stretching ourselves too thin, and then end up just not delivering on what we're saying we're going to do. I think as young business owners, especially even as optimistic as we are, we still have to be realistic on just our resources, so that we can still just have that integrity of, yeah, we'll be here to help you, and everything goes smoothly.
That's a good one. As someone who graduated from Howard with a business management degree and an emphasis in entrepreneurship, what about business, what's something that you learned about entrepreneurship that school didn't teach you?
What's something that I learned? I won't even say that. I would just say, I think it's just like, I find entrepreneurship to be the solution to a lot of problems that we face as a general community.
Okay.
I think a lot of times, because we may not have the same like financial backing, we may not have the same political leverage then because of that. As soon as we earn some money, chances are in our community, we turn around and we spend it somewhere else. And that's because we just, we're coded to not, we don't have that many businesses, local businesses in our own communities, There's all these other businesses that we spend, but there aren't as many businesses that we have that we can spend our own dollar in, and so we're losing money quicker than we're gaining it.
Yeah, you're talking about the circulation of the black dollar?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And so in school, we learned about how to create systems and marketing and, the legality of business owning, all that stuff. But I don't think we really often talked about how important it is to just inspire other people to have their own businesses because of the power that it gives you as an individual or as a team or as a community.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've spent like so much time and energy creating and teaching entrepreneurship curriculums to the youth. We've done countless different just locations throughout the DMV programs. We've been teaching entrepreneurship to the youth for more than a decade, and we're only 24 years old. So we've been doing that since we were in high school.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the biggest thing. It's just like understanding that it's one thing to own a business, but it's another thing to inspire the kid who lives down the street who has nowhere to go, to bring him in, or them into your business and show them, this is how I do this and this is how I do that. Mm-hmm. And one day this is going to be yours, or one day you're going to have your own version of this, but this is what it requires, and I'm going to show you what it requires, so that you can create your own world, and you don't have to apply to a job and fit into some other corporate entity, and you can create your own lifestyle.
Amen. My last question, just about entrepreneurship, but what has your partnership together taught you about friendship?
Man, I could write a book. When you have someone who is, they talk about like being like equally yoked. Yeah. And I think that, I've met a lot of people in my life, and I have never met somebody who is as much similar to me as they are completely different. Like, we're like we're literally like yin and yang, like the same person if they were split into two equal but opposite beings. And that teaches you so much. It teaches me about my strengths, it teaches me about my weaknesses, it teaches me about the things that I thought were weaknesses, but they're actually, maybe a strength because somebody else may not even have that quality. You know what I mean? Yes. And like I said, it really has a symbiotic relationship. I think I watch a lot of nature documentaries, and there are a lot of unlikely animal tandems. The little birds that eat the bugs out of the alligator's mouth. It's a beast. It's an alligator that can literally rip you to shreds, but it lets these little teeny tiny birds clean its teeth, and it will open its mouth all day and just have the birds eat. And that's how the birds are getting their food. So you think about those unlikely tandem relationships, those partnerships. He's my best friend, my biggest supporter, my hardest critic. Always gonna cut it straight. You know, I never have to worry about either of us performing. You know, I never have to perform for him or like show any side of me because he's literally seen every, like, you know, every aspect that I could be. And at that same token, while we are both growing, you know, he probably is gonna say this, but he loves a Bible verse that says, you know, as iron sharpens iron. I already know, bro. Isaiah 27. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. And, you know, I feel like we're two of the sharpest tools in the shed.
So I was gonna say that.
Yeah, how do you come from that? Yeah, because that was good.
Yeah. But I would say, like, so I always grew up on that verse. Growing up, my dad was part of this mentorship organization called Men to Men Mentoring Inc. And that was like the tagline, like Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And so I've always applied that, but especially like in the business, using that as a way to, like, if I'm the best version of myself, it's easier for me to inspire him to be the best version of him, because he sees me doing it, and vice versa. Like, if I'm lacking and he's not, now I have to look at myself in the mirror and be like, okay, like, these are the things that I need to do to, you know, improve, you know, to get better. But one thing that a mentor of mine told me that really changed the way that I even look at that verse is just the process of iron sharpening iron. It's not something that is smooth. It requires a lot of friction. You know, it requires intense heat, and iron literally, you know, just coming into contact with iron to make it sharper. So it's not always going to be like the prettiest conversation, and like it's not always going to be the most seamless and the most like the least confrontational thing that you ever done. Like, sometimes it requires like that friction and that heat, but we've been able to do that in the best way possible, like just to communicate in the sense that, okay, we understand what the goal is, and we understand that we're it's never from a place of malintent, but it's literally from a place of love and just trying to make each other better, and just a commitment to what we've created, because we know where it's going, and we know that in order to get to that point, it's going to require us to carry a lot of the responsibility. So we have to be able to shoulder that responsibility, and you know, we wouldn't be able to do it if both of us weren't equally, like, you know, lifting it up and pushing it forward.
What's next for Artivism?
Blessings. No, I think honestly our business model is to, you know, create a creative hub like this, or even better than this, in every major city, you know, across the world. That's why our logo is literally the globe, because with the eye in the middle, because we create the world that we want to see. So if we're using art as a tool to like literally see what we want to see, then, you know, there's artists every single where. I'm originally from New York, and you'll see art literally everywhere, subways, streets, and being able to hone in on all of that creative energy and give it a place and a name, and give it some type of impact that's greater than the individual could ever be, right? I think that starts with us really being able to grasp all of the intricacies of this space, being able to level it up to, you know, get to, you know, it's never going to be perfect, but there's always going to be things that we can improve on. So improving the little things here, making the main thing, scaling it so that, you know, when it does become time, you know, we can open up Artivism New York, or Artivism Philly, or Artivism Miami, or Artivism Jamaica. You know, we want to be able to have
Jamaica, the whole country.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. We got Artivism out there. Yeah. So.
No, that's pretty much it. In terms of like shorter term goals too, we do want to create a cafe in here. to incentivize people to come here like throughout the entire day, not just during events, but to come create, grab a coffee, maybe meet someone who can help you with your ideas. So in order to do that, we do have to upgrade the facilities that we're in, just so that we can get the correct licensing, and then we'll be able to open the cafe and then just do more from there. And then, like Josh was saying, take that and spread it to different creative cities around the world.
Love that. A few more questions for you guys. We always end an episode with a rapid fire. So I want to do rapid fire with you guys. Okay. You just finished this sentence. So artists don't need more.
You said don't?
Don't need more.
Artists
Talking.
Artists don't need more. I would just say pressure.
Love that. The biggest lie about entrepreneurship is?
You get rich fast.
The biggest lie about entrepreneurship is that you're your own boss, because like while you do create your schedule, I think your business is your boss. Sometimes there's times where if I wanted to, I would just be in bed asleep. But the business calls me, and there are people who rely on the business to be what it is.
Hey, that's so true. Okay, success means?
Having a goal, achieving that goal.
Success means looking in the mirror and knowing that you did everything that you could possibly do and being happy with those outcomes.
If I lost everything tomorrow,
I'd start again.
I love that, Isaac.
I would.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys are good. Okay, the best investment I've ever made was?
Investing into myself and my mental health.
I hope people remember Artivism for?
Impact.
Yeah. For themselves. Remember it for themselves.
I love that. Guys, this has been such a good episode. I really loved talking to you. I love hearing you guys walk in your purpose. You're really doing the Lord's work. You're not just helping our community, but just community in general. And yeah, I've had chills the whole episode. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
appreciate your time. Y'all check out the Bright Idea podcast.
Yeah, where can people find you?
You can find us here at the Artivism Art Market, 10 Florida Avenue Northwest. You can find us on our Instagram @_Artivism. Find us on our website, www.artivismworld.com. You can also find us at a lot of local venues and local art curations, not just here, but we also have a band that has been getting booked for some really cool gigs, curating art galleries, and really just, being a beacon for those creative communities elsewhere.
Yep. And we have a Facebook and a TikTok under the same name too, @_Artivism.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a wrap. Yay! That's it for this week's episode of A Bright Idea podcast. This week's episode featured Issac, Alicea, and Joshua Hughes, founders of Artivism. If you would like to learn more about Artivism, you can follow them on social media @Artivism. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bring on more stories like Artivism. Be sure to follow us on Instagram @A Bright Idea podcast for updates. And if there's a topic or a guest you'd like to hear from next, drop us a message. If you would like to support our show directly, you can donate to our Cash App at A Bright Idea Podcast. This episode was edited by Quincy Tucker and booked by Nia Dumas. Until next time, I'm Amber Key.